Hey guys, welcome back to Behind the Cues, the podcast where we discuss the backstage chaos and the magic on stage. I'm Tom, your host, and today's episode, I thought I'd talk about the chaos backstage, specifically your stories. Just a couple of submissions I've had from numerous platforms, or some stories I've found on Reddit and other similar platforms. Now, before we get into the episode, I thought I'd apologise for the lack of episode last month, because we've been blessed with a new house, and it's taken up so much of my time that I haven't had time to sit down and record. But I'm slowly returning, I promise. For those of you who know, we are still yet to properly unpack all of the boxes in the house, and hopefully when that's done, I'll get back to the schedule. So, without further ado, let's get into your backstage stories. So, number one comes from Cynthia Improv on TikTok. And this is how it goes. A production of Noises Off I directed, which came far too close to the source material. A smaller theatre company with a large local following. Our first-time stage manager had OCD, no one knew, and demanded to do all setup and prop changes herself, and in particular order. By dress rehearsal, the cast was frustrated and ready to riot. I promised to deal with the problem, but when I made the mistake of telling her to let go of all the details, she went off the edge. Evidently, that is the wrong thing to say to someone with OCD. I had no idea. Anyway, she took her anger out on me till I was seriously afraid for my safety. At the final dress, to deal with the very, very long set changes, I decided to put in a second interval. When I gave this information to our team, they said, no. The stage manager said not to listen to you. So, I left. Opening night, I'm not there. Here's what happened. The girl playing the hottie in her underwear was nervous, so she took something. We don't know what. She was barely able to stand. The rest of the cast covered for her, filled in for her lines, pulled and pushed her around the stage, and literally threw her through the window when she could manage stepping out of it. There was a lot of drama backstage as they tried to figure out what she had taken. An actor who was supposed to fall down the stairs sort of really fell down the stairs, shaking the set so badly that a vase on the shelf above him fell off and hit him on the head. The drunk girl fell at the end of the show and got tangled up in the curtain. The lead actress fell headlong over her as she tried to exit and went flying off the stage, breaking her foot. She limped back on for the bows, and they left the drunk girl on the floor, covered by the curtain. Actors repeatedly broke the breakaway glass in the French doors early in the show, requiring a stagehand to surreptitiously, I can't say that word, I do apologise, replace the glass during the show. I got a phone call that night begging me to come back and never miss another show. I refused unless the crew would listen to me again, and they agreed. I was there from then on, and it was a hit show, with the lead actress in the cast and the drunk girl sober and contrite, and a second interval for the turning of the set, which got applause every night. Well, that sounded like a genuine nightmare. Directors honestly put up with so much, and I take my hat off to them. They're under constant stress, and I see why they get annoyed when little things aren't done, or when the small details are missed. I also think that the stage manager is in the wrong on so many levels. So bloody unprofessional. Number 2. Arms of a Squid. Reddit. One time I was performing in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as Augustus Gloop. In my scene, I am dipping my hands into the chocolate river, which was discreetly a stagehand pouring chocolate syrup into my hands. Naturally, I rub the chocolate all over my mouth and hands. It gets everywhere. But it always got a big laugh. Then I fall into the river, go up the pipe, yada yada yada. Next scene is Veruca Salt hopping down the chute for bad nuts. This was done with a backwards fall off a platform, and behind the platform was 4 people ready to catch her. With a stunt like that, we practiced it a lot. I had practiced it a significant amount in rehearsals, and I taught the people who were to catch her how to do it properly. Well, apparently between me going up the pipe and the start of her scene, one of the stagehands fell sick. He ran off to the bathroom frantically. Someone grabbed me and pushed me behind the platform as it rolled on stage. One of the catchers explained to me that I would need to do the catch. I agreed and stood behind the platform, arms in formation. We heard the cue line, prepped, and down came Veruca, trust-falling her way into our arms. At this point, I should remind you, I have chocolate all over my forearms and hands, everywhere, and her long, flowing hair landed straight into it. She had chocolate in her hair, she couldn't get out in time for a Oopa Loopa song. Brown chocolate on a pink dress meant an awkward moment for poor Veruca. Luckily, we covered her with trash, so the audience didn't notice. As a costume person, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. I can't imagine the stress of laundry call, because I bet the dress was absolutely not machine washable and had to be rushed off to a dry cleaners ready for the next show. So, number 3 is actually one of my stories. I've tried to type it up as best as I can, but this was O'Toole's Macbeth in my second year in uni, based on the curse of Macbeth in theatre following Peter O'Toole and the tragedy of the production. During the show, there was a scene in which an actor playing O'Toole had to get doused, like fully head to toe in fake blood, and basically mop the stage with the blood-soaked cloak that he was wearing. There was then a sequence that involved 10 actors coming onto stage, slipping, falling, you name it, into the blood, all whilst fighting. And as you can imagine, the risk assessment was about 5 pages long just for this scene alone, and the laundry call was twice as long. During the first dress run, I was so incredibly stressed that I instantly had a migraine. Every actor's costume was to be washed during the interval so that the fake blood would not stain the costumes, and of course, because of budget constraints and small laundry room, the turnaround was so bloody fast, especially on a double show day. We had a pair of flip-flops, sliders or sandals for every actor as they left the stage to prevent ruining the theatre floors. Each actor then stripped off and put all their blood-covered costumes into a basket along with their footwear, and then the crazy laundry call began. 10 shirts, all in white, 10 pairs of trousers, all dark, and then mixed coloured towels and face cloths. A lot of towels. There was at least 5 loads of washing, simply due to the size of the washing machine, and then we had to wash the footwear in the shower and leave them to dry. I'm so thankful for my assistant Toby, who was honestly a godsend, and to the script writer and director, you are crazy, but that scene looked phenomenal. However, I can still smell the sticky sweet coffee smell of pigs might fly fake blood. Oh, and by the way, we used at least 10 litres of it. I've never been through that much stress in my life, honestly. I don't think I ever want to do it again, but I would love to see the chaos that assumes if it ever got like transferred anyway. So, number 4, the nightmare actor, which comes from one of my uni friends. Shout out to Zuzu, I love you. So, do you ever get those diva type actors? Well, here's one thing that grinds my gears. Actors not doing what they're told during a stage management role at uni. I told the whole cast that there were to be no drinks or bottles on stage or in the green room, and were to be kept in the dressing rooms at all time. Well, this one girl had the biggest, brightest pink hydro flask on stage constantly. What makes it worse is that she said it wasn't visible, and it was. It was a period piece. Like, what? Yeah, they really had pink hydro flasks in the 1800s. If you have seen a hydro flask, then you know how heavy they are and the sound that it makes when it hits something or when it falls over. Well, imagine that, but in an echoey theatre. It would constantly fall over backstage or in the wings and create the most awful, booming, ringing sound. I worked with my friend on the show, and I can confirm it was an absolute nightmare. And to the actor, if you're listening to this, please listen to your stage manager and never bring that hydro flask into our site ever again. So this next one was from, this is number 5, and it's from Laura Barnes on TikTok, who messaged me like 2 or 3 days after I sort of started up my podcast, and she has this crazy story. Let's get into it. A funny story from the last show I was in, Camelot in Panto. I had to wait in a box that acted as Merlin's laboratory bench, with my head under a cloche. I was playing this evil alter ego who was literally just a talking head, and I had to sit and wait in this big box with the guy next to me playing a talking snake. Anyway, about 10 seconds before the cloche comes off for my first line, I see the biggest spider I have ever seen crawling inside the box towards my feet. 0. Absolute nilch I can do about it. Merlin takes the cloche off, and by this point I'm sweating with terror and stress, and have to perform the whole scene with essentially a surprise tarantula in there with me, and I had to just pray it wouldn't crawl on me. Surprised I remembered my lines, honestly. I would genuinely pass away. I would simply just keel over and die, because spiders are my worst nightmare, and the fact that they are stood in this box and there's a spider just there. If it crawled on me, I would probably, I would scream. I wouldn't be able to do the scene. I would just like run off stage, because ain't nobody want a big tarantula in a box with you. I'm going to take a little break from the stories and delve into a few of my peeves and pros of Backstage. So the first one is, why does all your kit literally go missing the second you get into a venue? I was DSMing in a show in uni with a full kit during rehearsals, and honestly I felt like I lost about 3 pencils a day and about 5 blocks of sticky notes, and by the time we got to the venue I was left with 2 pencils, half a block of sticky notes, and very little sanity left in my brain. Next up, Sharpies. Do they grow legs? Because every time I buy a pack of 5, they mysteriously vanish within 3 days of opening them. A few tricks and tips I have found while working backstage are: Crazy time is accepted, usually about 3/4 of the way through the show, where everyone seems to get the giggles and start being a bit wacky. I found people through crazy time, and it's when I found out that vocal stims are very much a trait for neurospicy people, leading me to discovering I may have some slight ADHD issues. Actors are just as neurospicy as the crew, and it's important we involve them in the joke. Sometimes actors seem like they're weirded out by us, neurospicy crew. However, the majority of them actually want to be part of it, and I feel like breaking the ice with your cast is the best way to make sure they trust you, even if it means they can join the vocal stimming sesh. Straight to the point. If you borrow a pen or something that isn't yours, bring it back when you're done with it. It means a lot to us crew when we know that we can trust that our kit won't go vanishing. Smoking or vaping in a costume is an absolute no-no, and trust me, I will find out. Sometimes costumes just aren't washable, and no one wants the smell of stale smoke or months-old apple-flavoured vape juice up in their gig. Also, e-liquid and nicotine stains are a thing of nightmares to get out of costumes, honestly. Eating in costume is actually not a massive deal, just make sure you cover up. I don't want to be getting a stain out of that very expensive period dress you've spilt curry sauce on. Now, every costume soup is different, but I genuinely don't see a problem with it. Like I said, just cover up, even if you are only drinking water. In quiet, no cue spots in a show, a joke or a compliment over comms goes a long way, and usually it'll break the ice for crew members who are extremely nervous. As a stagehand or stage manager, you will lose your clipboard or spikeboard multiple times, and somehow it's always in your hand. I was blessed with the lovely gift of wearing glasses, but you know what is an absolute joke while wearing specs? Head torches. Even the discreet ones that attach to hats or the hats with torches in them, it's a nightmare. I need someone to invent a head torch that, one, doesn't blind me due to the glare on my glasses, and two, that can clip onto my glasses for us neurospices with texture and sensory issues regarding necks. So I'm going to jump back to the list that I've got now, and this one is from Snagglenaut_music from Reddit. I was playing Lumiere in Beauty and the Beast. During the scene where Lumiere and Cogsworth are greeting Maurice for the first time, Cogsworth tripped and face-planted on stage, and the top panel of his costume unhinged and flopped open. But because his costume was a giant box that severely restricted his arm mobility, he couldn't get up or fix his costume, and since I was Lumiere, I could not help because my hands were candles. So after watching him struggle for a minute, I eventually crouched down and faced upstage so I could take my candle hands off and get him standing up and situated. Put the candles back on and resume the scene. But his costume set kept flopping open and I couldn't take off my candle hands again, so I used my feet to help fix it, but it took 5 tries. After all was said and done, I realised that the guy playing Maurice was 100 times more equipped to help than I was. Had been sitting in the scene the whole time watching and doing nothing. During the same run, after a quick costume change, Miss Potts whispered to me on stage, "Your shirt is poking out of your fly." I looked down, looked at my candle hands, shrugged, and there's nothing I can do about it now. This may be the funniest of these stories, and I can't imagine how the audience was like. I would be hysterical, and honestly, I don't think I'd be any help as a stagehand because I'd be wetting myself in the wings, honestly. This next one comes from my friend Chris over on Facebook. This is number 7. So, one year I played buttons for Star Dreams Theatre Group, an amazing company if you ask me. And I had one song to sing. Just one, Haven't Met You Yet by Bublé. Well, I was going well, finishing my lines with cinders, and then it happens. I walk off before the crew have a chance to stop me. Sheer horror from their faces. Me looking oblivious. Stage manager is looking frantic. I had totally and utterly missed my cue. Speaking to costume on the side, and then I realise and thunder up the steps. Stage manager gives me a glare that I should not move another step. So yes, I missed my cue and sent production into a mini meltdown to get to the lighting cues. Oh, the joys of working with me. Blooming disaster I am. Thank you so much for that, Chris. Missing a cue is literally a nightmare. I can imagine how you felt, Chris. Somehow missing a line sometimes messes with my brain and I go completely off script for what seems like an eternity until someone brings me back to the character. Number 8, fire alarm shenanigans. This is a uni friend. Shout out to Liza, because she hasn't submitted this story. I was just in the group chat when I heard about it, and obviously I spoke to Liza the day of that this happened. So I was an ASM for the International Festival at uni, where we had to make stage food for a show that was slap bang in the middle of a 3-show performance. I was tasked with making the fake piece of meat using Rice Krispies and marshmallows. However, I misread the instructions, and instead of putting this concoction in for 30 seconds, I put it in for 30 minutes. Silly, I know, but I was thinking, damn, this is taking a while. And bam, it hit me as soon as I rushed to the microwave. The fake meat was cremated, and the second I opened the microwave, instant sirens. We had to call a show stop for at least 30 minutes, and I think stage food has scarred me for life. Like I said, I remember hearing about this over the uni group chat, and I can't imagine how you felt, because, to be honest, I would be so embarrassed, and I would have passed away on the spot. So, number 9 is MXXGLL Max from TikTok. This is something that I found while browsing and swiping through TikTok, and it hit me, and I couldn't leave this out because I found this hilarious. So, picture this. It's 2021. It's still COVID times. We're still wearing masks and everything. And I'm auditioning for my first ever West End show as an adult. I've already done 2 dance rounds. Second round, I thought I did okay, so I wasn't sure if this was going to get a recall. And I knew the next round was singing. I waited, and then it got to Friday and I still hadn't heard anything. So I thought, I've not got one, fine. Let's just, let's go out. That weekend was also Halloween. So I thought I'd go out, drink, scream, shout, because I didn't get the recall for the show. So I went out on the Sunday, screamed, shouted, and let it all out. Woke up on Monday to a call. Hi, 11 a.m, singing recall on Wednesday. Cut to Wednesday, I am going into town singing this song that I've never sung before. Singing this song at 11 a.m. with a bad voice, with a piano, and I've not done that for over 2 years. So I was scared, stressed. Get to Umbrella Rooms and I arrive about 10:30. I'm early. So I'm like, okay, I'll go to the Pret on the corner. I thought, soothe my throat with a hot tea and settle my nerves. I'm sat there and I'm really bloody nervous. I'm like, God, I feel so nervous. I'm like, oh, it's 1:45 now, let me head over. Mask on, stand up, walk out of Pret, open the door, breath of fresh air. The tea that has gone in my mouth come immediately back up into my mask and down my jumper. My audition's in 15 minutes. I have never been sick out of nerves, and here I am, stood on the street outside Pret, covered in my own bile, with an audition in 15 minutes. So I run back to the Pret, and there's no toilet, of course. Because why would there be a toilet in a central London cafe? Run down the road to Costa, there's a toilet, and I go, excuse me, can I use your toilet? And they say, no, you need to buy something. And I said, I'm going to be sick on your floor. And then they give me the code. I run upstairs and vomit again. I think, what do I do? What do I do? At this point, it's like 5 minutes to the audition. Luckily, it was just a tea that went in, barely touched anything, and come straight back out. So it was literally regurgitated tea. And I was wearing a black jumper, and you could not tell me that there was anything spilt on it. So I just put on a sticky sicky mask, and walked into the umbrella rooms, went upstairs, tripped up the stairs, and then sang my song, and I got a fucking recall. Imagine the smell, honestly, imagine the smell of regurgitated tea just lingering while you're trying to audition. I'd feel so bad, but thankfully and hopefully, knock on wood, that this will never happen to me. I literally hate being sick at the best of times, and never mind with a big audition the same day. I could never. I would just write it off and say goodbye to my dreams, because I don't think I would ever step foot into an audition room while smelling of sick. But my hat goes off to you, Max. Honestly, I'd be so stressed. And that, my lovely chaotic lot, is where we're going to leave the madness for today. I could have done 10 stories, but this episode is already half an hour long, so yeah. We've had falling downstairs, chocolate-covered cast members, spontaneous vomiting before auditions, and at least one stage manager-induced breakdown. So honestly, if your show only has a missed prop or a dodgy cue, count yourself lucky. I think the real takeaway from today is no matter how well you rehearse, how organised you are, or how many risk assessments you write, theatre will always find a way to humble you, usually at the worst possible moment. That's kind of why we love it, right? Because for every absolute disaster backstage, there's somehow still a show happening out front. And half the time, the audience has no idea. So if you did enjoy this episode, make sure you follow the podcast so you don't miss the next one, assuming that I don't lose my mic, my notes, and my sanity again before then. And please keep sending in your backstage horror stories. I want the chaos. I want the drama. I want the how did this not shut the show down moments. You can find me over on TikTok and Instagram at Tom Does Theatre. Just send me a DM, comment on one of my videos, and yeah. Until next time, check your props, hit your cues, and for the love of all things theatrical, do not bring a bright pink water bottle on stage. Thanks. Bye-bye.